Okay, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to Friday night. We got a great guest that you guys are going to get familiar with tonight, Mr. Chris Counter from the XP Deus 2 Facebook group. We're so excited to have Chris in here with us tonight. And we've also got our regular Mr. Michael Coley, NC Relic Hunter himself. And this is going to be a great show, guys. We got a special treat with having Chris on here. Chris is such a knowledgeable guy, and he's going to share a lot of his experiences. He's coming to you live from the UK, guys, at 12 o'clock, right, Chris?
Oh, it feels like it. Yeah, 12:30.
12:30. Yeah. So if you haven't checked out Facebook, if you're on Facebook, check out Chris's group, especially if you're an XP Deus 2 user. Chris has got a fantastic group that's over there. They share a lot of great information, a lot of great finds. And it's not just European finds, by the way, too, guys. It is American finds as well. So, again, you guys are going to love that group. If you're not already a member, go check him out. I promise you won't be disappointed in what you see on his Facebook group. And Chris has been metal detecting for a while. And Chris, just real quick, tell everyone a little bit about yourself. And we'll ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to dive into some shout outs and some other things like we normally do. But introduce yourself to the audience. I think these guys are going to be real excited about the information that you share tonight. So thank you for being on here. And I'm going to let you tell a little bit about who you are, what you do, so on.
Great. Well, again, thank you, both of you, Michael and Brian. Thank you so much for having me. And to the guys watching now, thank you. It's great. It's really wonderful. I've been following Southern Relic Adventures since the beginning of time, and I've been following the wonderful cultural history that can come out of America. So to explain a little bit about me, as Brian eloquently said, I am a co-founder and admin of XP Deus 2 group. We're a pretty good group, a big group, a worldwide group as well.
Right.
And we showcase finds. We started off as more of a technical help section, but now we're showcasing a lot of those wonderful finds that come out from around the world. I'm talking the Middle East. I'm talking about New Zealand, Australia. I'm talking about, Western and Northern America, Eastern America, and so on. So there's an awful lot of history to be had around the world. So yeah, I'm from the southwest of England, not a place known for being rich in history, but I do a lot of rallies around the UK, and I meet a lot of people, a lot of you guys there.
Right. And we appreciate you, Chris, taking the time to come on with us tonight. We're going to make a couple of special announcements, though. And I've got a lot of great news, and I want to start off the show with sharing this great news. Next week, we are going to have, for the first time, and Chris will attest to this. We lost Michael, but he'll be back. Chris will attest to this. We're going to have the head marketing director for XP, Philippe Cologne. I think, is it that how you say it, Chris? Cologne? Or do you know?
Yeah. That'll be fine. I mean, any kind of French accent.
Yeah. So we're going to have Philippe online with us, and he is the lead marketing representative for XP, and he is one of the big dogs for XP.
Oh yeah.
And for them to take the time to join in with us is going to be a real special treat. They've never done a live interview like this. So you guys are going to be the first in the United States to actually see an XP representative on a live stream. And it's going to be so awesome. He is real excited about sharing what XP's up to, the future of XP. He might even talk about a few new products or some new things that might be coming down the pipe. I'll let him decide how much he wants to share. But we're real excited about having him on board. And to take it one step further, not only are we going to have the head marketing director of XP, but we're also going to have the following week, we're going to have the CEO of Garrett Metal Detectors on with us, Mr. Steve Moore. and he's going to come on here live, and you guys are going to be able to ask those questions that probably some of you are really dying to ask. Now, how much he answers, I don't know, but it's going to be great having both of these fine gentlemen come on here and share their time with us. And we feel very privileged that they're willing to give their time and be on our live stream. And they've chosen us because they know that we are, we're all about metal detecting. We're all about metal detectors. We're all about sharing the best possible information out there. So you guys are in for a great treat. The next 2 weeks are going to be very, very, very exciting. And I'm excited that they've chosen me.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah. We've got the people coming on the show who build the stuff that gives you the pleasure, gives you the fun. I can't wait. It's going to be an excellent few weeks ahead. And I've been clawing at coming onto this show for ages.
Right. Dirt Devil Detecting says, I think, no, he's not. He wants to come out and he wants to share this information with you guys.
Yeah.
And again, we're not on here to do anything but to show the machine, talk about the machine, but to basically what I do, and you guys know this, I'm about the history first. The second thing I'm about is about getting these machines, showing you these machines, showing the settings, the features on these machines, and then helping you decide whether you really want to invest in it. And it basically, all it's going to be is I'm going to show the machine out in the field. You can decide. I'm not going to make anybody or tell anybody what machine to buy, purchase, or any of that. But he's going to come on here and he's going to give you some straight up information, straight from the horse's mouth. And I think you guys are going to really appreciate that. And he has chosen us to be able to do that. And I feel very privileged, just like Philippe has chosen us to come on here and, come on here and share with the U.S. audience for the first time what XP's up to. So there are a lot of great things coming down the road. And we just feel really privileged that they've chosen Michael and I to be the ones to help get the information out and to share what's going to happen with XP and with Garrett in the coming weeks as we start moving forward towards the fall and get ready for relic hunting season for sure. So it's going to be good. So real quick, as I always do, want to give some shout outs to some people that are here. We've got Mr. Damian Thorne. Damian says he's going to fall asleep by 7:29. Let's hope Damian doesn't do that. Mr. Danny N is in the house. Glad to have Danny. Mr. Jack Felmy, always super excited to have him. Old Pelon is in here with us. Kevin Wood says he just got his knock, the triple score. He's real excited about it, and it's a great machine as well. Troy Duguay, I believe is how you say it. Glad to have Troy in here. And he's saying, too, that he just got to knock the triple score. So congratulations to both of you guys. Mr. Trevor Van Horn is in here. Mr. Gary and the Goose is in here. Glad to have him with us tonight. Mr. Teshridge Digger is in here with us. Mr. Diggin Darrell, one of our main subscribers and members. We appreciate Diggin Darrell being with us tonight. DCM Detects is in here with us. Mr. Chris is in here with us tonight. Kevin Wood is in here. Glad to have Kevin with us. Dirt Devil Detecting, always super. And we got some things that we're going to talk about with Dirt Devil Detecting as we get closer to getting involved in the show. And we're going to mention that in just a few minutes. Mr. Kevin Wood is in here with us. Mr. Larry Stevens, and Larry sent me a really cool find. I can't wait to share that find. And Chris, I think you're going to appreciate his find as well. And Mr. LC Hunt also sent me some pretty nice finds too that I can't wait to share with you guys. Mr. Joe Dirt is in here. Metal Detecting Northwestern Wisconsin. Always super excited to have him. Doug Atkins is in here with us. Mr. Ohio Fred is in here. Mr. Edward G. Mr. Sniff It Out is with us tonight. And I'm trying to make sure I get everybody. PG Digger is in here with us. Hey, PG, glad to have you in here. Riddles Relics is in here. Mr. Ricky Bennett is in here. Glad to have Ricky. Yodes Finds is in here. Somebody new. I always love to see some new faces. Rito Marcella. Always great to have Rito in here with us. Mr. Patrick Parker. Love to have him with us tonight. Don't Tread on Me. Super excited that he's with us. Carrie Pope is in here with us tonight. Mr. Cameron Black is in here with us. And we're getting down there. There he is. Mr. Mental Metal himself is in the house with us. Always super excited. He is a great supporter of our channel, and we're a great supporter of Mental Metal as well. Super, super nice guy.
Yeah.
We appreciate him being with us. Mr. Joel is in here, and we'll talk about Joel in just a second. And I'm making sure we don't miss anybody. Trevor Van Horn is with us. And I think that's everybody. Michael, did I miss anybody? Chris, did I miss anybody?
I didn't know when you were going to start.
We got a lot of people in here, Chris. There's a lot of people that join in. And Luke Smith is in here, and he says greetings from the UK, guys. So glad to have Luke. Appreciate Luke being in here with us.
He's our co-admin, by the way.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Say hi.
We're super excited. Miss Sunny Coley is in here tonight. Part Metal Detecting Text Tips, Tweaks, and Treasures in here. Glad to have him with us as well. We have got a super fantastic group. And again, real excited to have Chris Counter in here with us from the XP Deus 2 Facebook group. Chris, we're going to start off with a couple of questions for you. So tell us what made you decide to make a Facebook group for the XP Deus 2 metal detector. What led you that way? And tell us a little bit about why you started that group.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's an easy one. Whenever you got a new detector that comes out, you got so many different YouTube channels out there and advice and tech help and things like that. And everyone's trying to find their feet at the same time and fast. And also we're looking at emerging tech, aren't we? So, we're in the full frequency era, if you like. And so myself and Luke, we sat down and we thought, okay, we like the XP brand. Luke's on the XP already. I was always historically a Garrett and Minelab guy. I was looking for something a little bit more lightweight because I'm in an area where there's a lot of hills, and I used to trek about 2 or 3 miles before I even set my bag down, that level, going through undergrowth and so on.
Right.
We decided to create a group that worked with tech help questions, and we could feed in all that information from around and then let people kind of make their own decisions based on that. And over time, it's blossomed into, as we've chatted about loads of times, a worldwide sort of fan base, if you like.
Right.
And it's just grown from strength to strength, not necessarily in the technical help area now, although there's lots of it. It's about people going, if it quite visually, here's a coin, great. How did you find it? What were the settings and so on? I want to do that too.
Right.
That's our group in the nutshell.
You talked about walking, for miles and miles. Have you tried the electric scooter like Gary Blackwell? I know he's had several videos up with that. It's pretty interesting. That thing, it goes pretty fast.
Yeah, well, I do have an electric bike off-roader. It's really quite special, but I'm talking like not fence jumping in the bad sense. I'm talking about going through hostile terrain.
Very good, very good. Well, Chris, a lot of people on here are XP Deus 2 users, but there are a lot of people on here that use a lot of different machines as well. But I want you to tell us. So over in Great Britain, what's the program that you find that works the best for you using the Deus 2? And tell us what you see when you use that program and why you use that program.
That's a great question. For me, it would usually be the sensitive full tones. And I opt for the full tones variant of the sensitive program because it allows me to almost see around a target. So put it like this, guys. So let's say, and I realize that not all the world is able to just stumble across a Roman site, but but Roman sites in England and Europe and so on, there is a lot of similarities with colonial sites across America and so on.
Right.
You will often find when you're on one of those sites that the coil, where is my coil? Here we go. You'll often find that the coil will go across the ground, and you'll hear this like, and you know that is iron sound coming through. It works in all metal mode, the sensitive full tones, obviously, and it allows you to, as long as your reactivity, you know, that your speed of processing on the computer is quick enough, it allows you to identify that hotspot of, like, say, a Roman thick coin. I mean, like the size of this thing. I mean, yeah, this is pretty thick, eh?
That's pretty thick for sure.
All right,
it
and
is.
even their small ones are pretty thick as well, comparatively speaking. Sensitive full tones is a great program for me because it allows me to both see around a target if there's other iron around it as well. It's all metal mode, and the range of frequencies can give you a rough idea about not exactly what it is, but the size of it, how deep it is, and you know, the composition of the metal. Top program.
Right. So here in the United States, you know, when I go to a colonial site, like I just dug the most English coppers that I've probably ever dug. And Michael was with me on this last journey. And we just lost Michael, but anyway, I dug a bunch of KG3s and KG2s.
Okay.
So, but those coins over in your area, those are like, I mean, you probably don't even acknowledge those. You'll probably just toss them to the side.
It's actually a fantastic barometer for what kind of activity you have on a site. So put into context, recently the Deus 2 group, just the backroom team and friends, we went to Wales. Beautiful, beautiful country. And we were on the lookout for a Roman camp. All right. We were pretty sure that we were within a few fields from it, you know, a few acres.
Right.
All of the evidence pointed to it. I did a recce. I was happy with that. Anyway, didn't find the camp. Boo. What we did find, however, though, in the valleys next to a river was, I'm talking like 400 to 500 KG2, KG3 coins. I think there might have been a couple of Victorias in there. There's a gold sovereign Victoria coin came up, Queen Victoria. It's, as I said, it's a good barometer for the type of things that were happening in a field. We uncovered an entire trade fair, you know.
Right.
They're not that common, and they don't survive. Do the KG2 and 3 coins survive over here?
Well, the thing is, in my area, because of the soil conditions here, some of the coins that I've pulled out have been they've been in pretty good shape. Now, KG3s and KG2s here will they don't hold up, and I'm assuming they don't hold up very well in your area either.
Awful. They just don't work well with any kind of acidity in the soil. You really need something with a clay soil as well. Yeah, it's not good. But when they do come up, it's fantastic. It's a big win.
Right.
It's a good find.
So again, I dug the most that I've ever dug off of a site. How many do you think I've dug, Michael, off of this site that I'm on right now? Probably what, 13 maybe? At least?
Probably 12 or 13, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm somewhere in that range. And, of course, we get real excited about that. To you guys, that might not be a big deal, but it is a big deal to us because we just don't see those. And I dug something that was really rare off of this last site, which is a Virginia colonial half penny. And it actually has King George III on the front, but it's got the Virginia colonial seal on the back. And it's a pretty rare coin. It was only made for 1 year, and that was 1783. And then I've also dug a British Rev War button that was from the 76th Regiment, Scottish Regiment, Regiment of the Foot Highlanders. And I dug one of those. And then the other day was probably the crowning jewel when I dug one of these. And these it might be hard for you to see, but that's a USA Revolutionary War button, of course, when we were fighting Great Britain. And that's a Continental Army button. And you don't see a lot of those in this area of the United States because it was mainly, the war was mainly fought by the militia in this area against the British.
Right.
So it's that's a pretty rare find as well.
Right.
So I was curious. I was curious as to how you guys sort of looked at those coins versus the way that we look at it.
I'll tell you what, like let me I'm very interested in that that military button. Which regiment was it from again? The Scots
It
one?
was the 76th Regiment of the Foot Scottish Highlanders. I think it's McDonald's regiment.
Right.
So for anyone who doesn't already know, a lot of the British colonial coins and the French as well, probably I would say, in the lead up to the War for Independence and so on, they would often have the number of the regiment on the button, and it's not always the case, but often they will. I've dug a button from the 62nd Regiment of Foot, okay, and I did a little bit of history on it. I know my redcoat stuff anyway. I'm a great fan of black powder rifles and so on. That's my jam, by the way. Outside of detecting.
Yeah.
I don't have a black powder license yet, but anyway, I'm just waiting for the next Revolutionary War. But yeah, anyway, the 62nd Regiment of Foot. Okay, I was able to trace that button was probably not 100%, but probably would have formed part of a recruitment camp back here in England.
Right.
After, and I'm talking just like the moments after the Battle of Saratoga in America, where unfortunately we lost that bout.
Right.
But you let us go. You said,
let y'all do
it. But you also did a painting of us in full retreat and also surrendering, so that was nice of you to do that. But after we left, we came back and we did a massive recruitment drive, and I found one of the buttons from that recruitment process back here.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, of course, I know you know this. I am a U.S. history teacher, but I'm also a European history teacher as well. And so anything involving history, I mean, I love. That's what got me into metal detecting. That's what this channel is about. First and foremost is the history. The second thing is it's about, the hobby, enjoying the hobby. Third thing is really the machines and just showing the machines, reviewing the machines, and helping people get familiar with their machines and learning how to use them. Whatever machine it is, whether it's the Deus 2, whether it's the Manicore, whether it's the Nocta, whether it's a Garrett. I just want to help people with setting up those machines and taking them out and using them to the best of their ability to help them find some history. And of course, part of what I'm doing right now is I'm saving history for a lot of the people that live on these properties. And I'm actually giving them the finds, and they're displaying them in these houses and things. And I actually even helped create a museum at one of the old plantations here in South Carolina. And so that's where I'm at. And I know Michael feels the same way. Michael and I are mainly about the history. The history comes first to us, and then it's everything else. And then of course I love being on here and talking with all these great people that are on here watching us tonight, and letting them show some of the things that they find, and to ask questions about machines and ask questions about metal detecting. And that's what our channel is basically about. And we love doing it. We love coming here on Friday nights, and it just makes for a great time on a Friday night. It really does, for sure.
So Chris, is there a location that you've hunted where you've kind of found a little bit of history from all the eras, of England's history, as far as, the Celtic, Roman, can you kind of tell us about that, where you found a little bit of history from all of the eras of England?
That's a great question, because when we're talking about multi-period sites, we're talking about sites that have got a vast swathe of history. You'll often find some telltale remnants, even surviving into the modern era. And I'm talking about maybe field designs. So you have certain parts of history where certain field choices were better. And so you can, not always, but you can have a pretty good idea of what would be a Celtic field system. They're known as a coaxial field system, by the way, like the wire. And then you've got the Roman field system, which would tend to be larger, squarer areas. And then we have, when we talk about the medieval era, we're talking more about strip fields and things like that. Strip being, you know, a long line of field, with maybe a very simple point where different families would, you know, farm that large swathe. We found a medieval village. It must have been about 2 years ago. I don't know if Luke is watching still right now, but me and him found a medieval village through we basically stumbled over the thing. We used LiDAR technology. So that's basically firing a laser. You know, this is governmental stuff, but you know,
Right.
they fire a laser into the ground and it shows where the peaks and where the troughs are, and it shows you the lay of the land really well. And with the right kind of lighting that you apply to it, even Google Maps or Google Earth will show you a great colonial field system, for example.
So Chris,
well,
I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. So, do you guys use LiDAR a good bit over in Great Britain? Is that even allowed, or how does that even work? Because I know LiDAR is big in our area. Well, I know a lot of people that use it. I mean, so what about over in Great Britain? How is that viewed, and do you use it?
Okay, good question. So I personally don't use it too much. However, people I know do, and it's used quite successfully. Anyone can use it in the United Kingdom. It was firstly brought into this country to find out environmental effects like floodplains and so on. And so it's free to use for a variety of reasons. It just happens to work particularly well in the history sector.
Right.
I'm a guy who stands in a field with the right light, and I will pick it out myself.
Right. And that's the way Michael and I are. I mean, I do a lot of research, and I know you do too. So we do a good bit of research. I do a good bit of reading. Of course, making these connections, because a lot of people on here, they ask me, hey, how do you get all these great sites? And a lot of it is just, some of it is sight, just looking at an area and looking for high ground, looking for places that are near water. Those are usually going to be your best bets, especially in an area where there's been early activity or colonial activity. And that's how we generally do it. But every now and then I'll come across something like, something on LiDAR, or I'll find something in some research that I'm doing. And of course, you probably got more access to some great research, more so than we do. Which I was always curious about that, how you guys go about researching sites or finding sites over in Great Britain.
Yeah, I was curious about that too.
What we do
Actually,
here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I find that from, say, for example, the American Civil War period, there were an awful lot of hand-drawn maps made for very important reasons, we all know, and they have survived into the modern era. Whereas, say, I'm just putting it in real terms here. In England, you would have a map that was made in 1890, and that's the one you've got,
Right.
Yeah, there would be earlier maps throughout time, but generally speaking, not having a war on is a good example. We lose that important tangible link to, say, the colonial 18th century period.
Right.
So you got some good maps over there, and I think you have just as detailed research resources as us.
Well, you're gonna find out here because I live in South Carolina here in the United States, and unfortunately, because of the Civil War, we don't have any maps. So believe it or not, when the North, or when the Union came through South Carolina, most of our important maps before 1860 were all burned. They were set on fire. Yeah, so a lot of our maps are missing. So again, I'm having to use these to go on and then go and try to research the records that are out there to figure out where some of these places could possibly be. And that's challenging. My area is especially challenging. That that I have to do that. And Michael knows. I mean, I've stumbled on the places basically because of these more so than anything. And
so
it's tough.
what do you look for, Chris, as far as physically, like if you're riding down the road, we kind of look for, big
Chimney
trees
stacks.
where there was an old
Yeah,
house
big trees.
site, or chimneys. Yeah,
Yeah, good one. Well, obviously, you're on a real winner if you go past or you walk through a field that's got say, let's put it in Roman context, right? If you go on a Roman era field, you know that there's been a lot of activity there from that particular time period. You're going to find things like oyster shells. You're going to find things like evidence of crockery or pottery that's just been thrown away, sometimes in pretty good nick as well. You might find pieces of glass. So again, like, we're talking about it in British terms, so let's just do it like that. You can just about see how blue that is.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
that is glass, right? So when glass has been in the soil for a very long time, it would tend to react with the acidity of the soil. Doesn't have to be much. And this is the most beautiful cobalt blue glass I have ever seen.
Right.
It's a Roman period chalice, probably something like that. That's how it's gone to be recorded. But this is something that's on the surface, and because it's lighter. And I've got a question for you too, especially Michael.
Sure.
On the surface, you might find that if you're really lucky, you'll find pieces like high status pottery, in addition to the shells and so on. Things like that. That's your real winner. If you could find evidence of occupation just on top of the ground, then obviously there's going to be something theoretically underneath. What do you guys do? A question for Michael.
Right.
What sort of things do you find in these, let's say, colonial sites?
Tell him, Michael.
Well, we look for black glass, pottery, just pretty much the same thing. If you walk around these fields and you look for old pieces of crockery, and just that kind of gives you or old brick, even pieces of brick.
Yeah, great.
And that gives you an indication there was a house site there.
Right.
Yeah. Is that like in streams as well? You'll find that they've just thrown all this stuff into a stream and you're just looking on the bank. Is that how it works?
Yeah, well, you can, or fields. A lot of times we're hunting the edge of fields, and if they've dished the field up several times, you'll see the glass and the old brick out there. But yeah, in rivers too, you can find old bottles, or where they've thrown them there. A lot of times they would throw them, even if there was a house site close to a river. They would throw. And we know several people that metal detect and dive in the rivers there and find old bottles. But like Brian said, a lot of times it's going to be close to a river or a body of water,
right,
on a high spot.
Chris, do you see the question? This is from Digging Daryl. What would you like to see XP change or upgrade on the Deus 2? What's something that you would like to see?
Yeah, like a radar feature will be great, No, honestly, it's a great question, Digging Daryl. Thank you so much for joining us. This is I'm already having so much fun.
Yeah.
Also with my my chosen drink.
You got you. Oh yeah, we're good with that.
Yeah, okay. We're on the same planet here. What sort of significant changes? Well, I think in order to answer that, we've got to see where we're at the moment. All right. So we've got one of the lightest weight detectors you can get out there. All right. And it's WS6 Master, guys, which we'll talk more about later if we need to.
Right.
It's a lightweight shaft. The latest shafts on these coils are carbon fiber as well. That's a fairly recent innovation, but change for XP.
Right.
I would like to see not necessarily even lighter product, because I think it's already where it needs to be. I think I would like to see probably like a software update. Okay. So if you buy, I won't go into this too much, right? But let's just say everyone is able to go out tomorrow. I'm a Ford F-150 kind of guy, all right? But let's say you buy a Tesla.
He's a Ford F-150, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
I'm with
70s, 80s kind of thing, you know? Actually, the
Yeah.
80s era,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm an 80s child. But yeah, like if you buy a Tesla, all right, say tomorrow, in 10 years' time, you can expect that software updates will make exactly the same car more efficient, more powerful, and able to do perhaps more wonderful things while it does it. And that's the ethos for XP. You know, Philippe, which we've already chatted about, is coming on to say his own piece.
Right.
But from my perspective, as part of like one of the biggest groups in the world that supports or as a fan base for XP,
Right.
it's all about the software updates as well. You know, we're happy with how things are. I think in terms of the detector, maybe we could do with another coil. I hear that there might be something coming out at some point in the near future.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's some rumblings about it. So, Park Metal Detecting Tips, Tweaks, and Treasure says, what kind of pinpointers do you guys use? And of course, I think all three of us are going to probably say this. I use the MI6. Michael uses the MI6 too.
Right.
And I'm sure Chris uses the XB MI6 pinpointer as well. Here's the question for you, Chris. He said, DS Metal Detecting says, how often has the English guest dug Celtic coins or Celtic coins?
It's quite. Oh yeah, as in me myself. I'm
Yes.
Celtic. I am yet to find myself a Celtic gold or silver coin. Obviously, like anyone, I'm hoping for that to change. It's all circumstance. So in my part of England, it's more so much a barter economy. Okay, so we don't have like a vast array of coinage. You have to go about 2 to 3 hours drive away before you start to see tribes interacting with each other in terms of movable wealth like coins. So as yet, none. Hopefully soon. Thank you for that question.
Yeah. LC Hunt's got a good question for you, Chris. He says, have you found any Viking relics?
So I have been next to people, right next to, about 2 weeks ago, where we found a Viking, or at least I believe it was a Viking stirrup mount. The Viking era is something that tends to have a zoomorphic design to it, so it's more like an animalistic kind of patination on it, or its construction. I think the thing about Viking era is a little bit like the Saxon era, which is the same kind of time period. We're talking 500 AD to 1066, depending on what you read. You'll find that the designs of things tend to be fairly simplistic if it's going to be commoner use. So it's so easy to find something and you throw it in your finds pouch and you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. And
Yeah,
you come home,
we do that all the time. I've
like,
had to go back quite a few times and research things.
Absolutely. I find something, I better not throw that away. And now I've got a whole shelf full of stuff that I'm slowly getting through to figuring out what it is. Saxon, yes. So same time period. Saxon, yes, I found Saxon brooches. Really, really nice, but probably Viking, but it's so difficult to tell sometimes.
Right. So we got a couple of other good questions for you, Chris, from our viewers. Digging Darrell wants to know, Chris, have you ever relic hunted in the United States?
I have been to the States, and whereas I've detected in Australia, I'm yet to do the States. However, I am expecting to be visiting the States to do just that pretty soon. It won't be this year because my calendar is already booked out.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to going in your kind of area, not Digging Darrell necessarily, but for yourself, Brian. I'll join you on a hunt, maybe, yeah?
Yeah. Hey, like I told Philippe, I'll be glad to take you guys on a hunt in South Carolina and let you experience the low country of South Carolina with some heat, humidity, some snakes, alligators, ticks, poison ivy, and all the fun things that come associated with living in this area. You should have seen Philippe when I told him that. He's like, he was like, I don't know.
Don't forget the bugs too, Brian.
Oh yeah,
the mosquitoes,
the bugs,
the no-see-ums,
gnats, no-see-ums, biting flies, hornets.
Hornets as well.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, it's not. It's hey, it's not, especially during the summer. Now during the winter, it's doable. It definitely is doable. So we got a lot of good questions for you, Chris. Trevor Van Horn says, Chris, when you started first detecting, what was the find that got you hooked to the hobby and made you want to keep going with it? That's a great
Oh,
question.
yeah,
Thank you,
boy.
Trevor.
Okay. All right, now that's a good one. So let's rewind 15 years ago. I'd already been doing mudlarking for 5 to 7 years. I've already been on the foreshores digging up pipe stems and all that sort of stuff. I used to go hunt cannonballs, for what it's worth, on the seaside. You
Sure.
imagine those big old frigates.
Right.
They'd be firing them off practice all the time. But yeah, again, I digress. So I had a cheapo metal detector. I can't even remember what it was, and I went over a few areas where I know as a 8-year-old or 10-year-old, no later than 8 to 10, I had thrown a load of coins, and I'd used like a. Do you have Radio Shack? You've got Radio Shack, haven't you? Over
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. Well, there's still a few around. There's not a lot
There's
of
a
them,
couple
but they're
about.
still
They
there.
used to be everywhere.
Mhm.
So I had like a rubbishy detector when I was 7 or 8, and I threw these coins out, and I had a little bit of fun. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit, I had a slightly better detector, and I went over the same area, and I found a few coins, and I was like, "Whoa, that looks like I threw that in the ground about 10 years ago."
Right.
And then after a while, I found a cap badge, and it was like it said RM. And then I found something else next to it, and it was something that said Royal Veterinary Corps.
Oh
And
wow.
then I found .303 bullet casing. And then I'm starting to like get a kind of a like, geez, if I stumbled across some sort of camp or whatever, your mind just goes with it, doesn't it?
Yes.
And and that was it. I mean, after a couple of years of digging around in the area, I'd uncovered pretty much a World War One training camp that would have gone over to the Somme to fight. I found basically where they would have done that final bit of practicing, and that was the bit that got me hooked. It was like piecing together that history and figuring out why the stuff was in the field.
Right. And and that's the thing with me. I love when I find something and I can connect it to the
Mm,
people that actually live there. Not like just recently, I dug, and Michael was with me. I dug a silver heart that had an AS on the front. Now it went to the 1700s, but the AS was the original owner of that plantation in the 1700s, which again, 1700s is very early for you guys, but it was made of silver. And
yeah.
this was that lady's jewelry. It was a piece of her jewelry from the 1700s. And
Oh man, that's
to
amazing.
hold something like that in your hand. And then Michael was with me on the next find too, where I dug I don't know if you are familiar with Barnum and Bailey Circus. Do you know about, have you ever heard of that before?
No,
So
sorry, no.
anyway, P.T. Barnum created the circus, basically the circus here in the United States, where you go see elephants and clowns and all that kind of stuff. And he actually went through a period where he recruited a singer from Sweden, and her name was Jenny Lind.
Okay.
And she only did one performance in South Carolina in 1850, and Michael saw me dig a button with her face on the front of
It was
that
in
button.
Charleston, right?
Yeah, in Charleston, and that was in 1850. She did a performance in 1850 in Charleston, and
Yeah.
we dug that button, and that's like, you just don't see that,
Man,
period.
that is so special, isn't it?
Yeah.
A similar story.
If you ever go and watch the movie The Greatest Showman, it's
Yeah.
got I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but if you go watch it, you will see Jenny Lind singing on that movie. But of course it's not
Yeah.
it's just an actor.
Uh-huh.
But it's very interesting. So again,
I
it's
had
fun when you can make those connections to the past and you're
yeah.
holding that in your hand.
Oh, I've got a great
Mhm.
one for you guys. All right. So, prior to the American War for Independence. Actually, no, probably no. So in that kind of era, actually, let's talk like late 18th century, early 19th century. A lot of officers in the British frigates, if you like, or ships of the line, as it actually is, they would take their own dinner service, their own dinner plates, and their own cutlery, silver cutlery and whatnot. Standard thing. Everyone did it. It was expected of you. All right. Now, I'm detecting this area where we know there was a person who was a captain of a ship who lived in that house. All right, it's on the coast, southern England again. Remember, like everything else. Beep 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 beep. A fork comes up. All right, a silver fork. You kind of get where I guess where this is going. All right.
Right.
So we were like, oh wow, this is amazing. It's got hallmarks on it, so we know the date. It puts it like whatever it was, 1792 or something or other. So I go back to the landowner and I say, hey, look what we found. We also found medieval there as well, right next to it.
Right.
But we found this, and the guy goes, 1 second, comes back, and he gets another. He's got a fork in his hand. he's got the rest of the set, and he's like,
it matches.
You've been looking out for that one.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that is.
It just survived through families.
That is crazy. Well, tell us a little bit about why you chose the Deus 2 as your primary detector, because a lot of people would like to hear that as well. I mean, I know you said because it was lightweight, but what made you, and I know you've already told me what you were using before the Deus 2, but why did you end up with the Deus 2? And just tell us a little bit about your experiences with the Deus 2.
Sure. So first up, I like change. All right. I like trying things out and then, finding what works for me. And in some sites, maybe different metal detectors might work slightly better. I don't know. I chose the Deus 2 for the very simple reason of find recovery rate. I'm not talking about the speed that the coil picks up whatever it is underneath the ground. I'm talking about how easy is it for me to dig up that piece, place the plug back on the ground properly, and then move on to the next target.
Right.
I was getting into the rally season, so over here, we got 100, 200 people going out into a field finding lots of stuff.
Right.
I was there with like what did I say earlier on? A CTX 3030, beautiful machine, works great. I thought I needed something that was just faster, and that's why I went with the Deus.
Right.
Lighter too.
Yes, definitely. So, Chris, there are a lot of machines out there right now, and I know you're familiar with a lot of the other brands and a lot of other manufacturers.
Yeah.
How do you think the Deus 2 compares to those machines based on what you've seen?
Very well, because I'm not normally a props guy, everyone. Okay, but
okay, no, bring it out.
All right, 13-inch coil.
Right.
Okay, already a lightweight unit, 13-inch coil. Then you've got, of course, your 9-inch coil. So earlier on, I was saying that I chose the Deus 2 because it's lightweight. I can't necessarily put the word lightweight and 13 or 15-inch coil in the same sentence, but I certainly can with that. But if you've got a really well-balanced machine, you're already a winner. So I'm into the Deus 2. I ain't going to change I'm just not going to change. Put it that way. There's a lot of reasons why I won't be able to change.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Does everything I need wirelessly.
Right. And for your sites over in the UK, you probably feel like a lot of people on here feel that it's a machine that just suits the sites that you hunt. And you've probably done your homework and your research to make sure that that machine works in the sites that you're going to be exploring or checking out. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And one of the things that I often preach on here is that there are so many good machines out there at this point.
Oh yeah.
And you have to decide. And that's what I said at the beginning of the show. I'm not going to tell you what I think is the best machine for you. you're the one who ultimately has to decide what machine fits you, whether it's your budget, whether it's your site, whether it's I'm used to using this, I don't want to change, whatever it may be. Those are going to be the machines that you're going to be comfortable with. You're going to have to decide that you like the Deus too. I like the Deus too. Michael likes the Deus too.
I like other stuff too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
that's what we're here for.
And Michael knows this too. Yeah, Michael knows.
Have you had a chance to use?
Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to ask him, has he had a chance to try the Extreme Hunter on the field, looking for hordes or Roman hordes or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've had a good amount of use with that across several different sites. Stay tuned. Next year is going to be a big one.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to using the Deus too on the Extreme Hunter on my sites. As Michael knows, this site that we have right now is very, very nice, and there's going to be some colonial trash pits, which we're real excited about, maybe possibly exploring coming up, and we're going to have access, hopefully, to a GPR as well. And
nice.
Yeah, so it's going to be really, really nice. But getting back to the machines. Again, one thing that I believe is that if you get a machine, whatever machine it is, learn it, go out, do the best you can with it, read the instruction manual, get familiar with it, get familiar with the tones. And that's the best way to go about approaching all of this. And make sure it fits your budget,
Yeah. Find a community.
Times are tough for people. And, spending, some people don't want to spend $1,200 or $1,500 or $1,800 on a machine. They maybe have $500 or they maybe have $300, whatever it may be. But go out and get the machine that you can afford, the machine that fits what you want it to do, and go out and learn it and use it to the best of its abilities. And enjoy this hobby, just like what we were just talking about just then. Enjoy history, finding history, and enjoy doing the fun and the research and all those things. And it will take care of itself. This hobby is a great, fantastic hobby. And it's one that all of us can enjoy no matter what machine you have. Don't let the technology be the reason why you're in metal detecting. Let it be because you enjoy it, you like using the machines, and you like finding things and saving history and being able to research it and enjoy those types of things. That's just me.
Yeah. And no, I totally understand that. Like, take us back to the 90s in America, and you had these great big conventions, massive, great big halls, and you'd have lines of people on tables, these trellis tables. They have all their finds out, and they'd have their detectors and so on. And this is pre-social media, so you'd have people talking about, if you add a resistor between that and that, it will make it do this. That's like a conversational element, and that's why the hobby is at its strongest right now. If anyone wants to find out more about detectors, you just join a bunch of groups, of various different brands, and you learn what works. That's why the Deus 2 group. Sorry for the shameless plug, everyone.
No, you're good.
You can you can put a link down there. You can join a group and you can see the kind of stuff that's coming out. I'll tell you now, that Roman coin I showed you earlier on, doesn't matter what you buy, you're going to hit that. If you have a what might be perceived as a good detector, that would be the difference between determining a much finer, smaller piece. Finding that in the ground is going to be a lot trickier, and that's where, with the era of the full metal frequency that we've got now, you're onto a winner with any higher end detector. But you can still have fun with anything. I did.
Right. And you see the comments that we just put up just a minute ago, Chris. Patrick Parker, who's been a loyal follower, subscriber to our channel, he says, I've learned more from these live streams. And this is why we do these live streams, is for people to learn, regardless of the detector that you have, to try to help people get to that point, and learn to use the machine that they have to the best of their ability. That's what we're trying to do here. And again, I appreciate Patrick. He's learning right along with all the rest of us in some cases. And that's what we're about. Head Hacker Coin Slayer says this is an awesome place for learning. And you sharing your information, telling a little bit about your experiences in the UK, and then Michael and I sharing our experiences, what we see out of these machines, why we use these machines, what are some things to look for, how to set these machines up. That's what it ultimately comes to, what it's all about, and just saving history. Metal Detecting Georgia says, I love all the detectors and I use many different models. Speaking of the 90s, we all wanted the 1266X Fisher for relic huntings. He said, I still use mine and it's the beast. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're using a machine from the 90s or the early 2000s, maybe some of you are even using machines from the 80s, there's nothing wrong with that if you enjoy using that machine and that machine suits you to the best of your ability. You don't have to have the latest and the greatest. It's fine if you do, but if you don't, that's fine too. Whatever you enjoy. And that's
totally
what I
agree.
want people to know. But
so Chris, do you prefer PWM, square, high square? What do you run as far as for your sensitive full tones?
Since FT, I will run in PWM. Square tones has a really strong place in detecting, where in Deus 2 detecting. It's a little tricky for me to explain because I'm not the technical whiz. I'll go out and have fun a lot of the time. And I use a lot of programs a lot of people put out there. I'm a great advocate for people learning by adding things, But PWM is for the win there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like PWM myself.
So don't tread on me, says Chris. You should invite all of us for a group hunt in the UK. What do you think, Chris?
They'd call it an invasion, though, wouldn't they? You know what? On the subject of like detectors, old detectors, can't remember what I found that with. This is a 3-pounder, except it's actually a French. This is a French cannonball that would have been from maybe like either a signaling cannon, or it might have been one that would be on the top deck. That kind of thing. I can't remember what I found that with, but it definitely wasn't a very good detector. And you've put yours in oil or wax, haven't you?
I actually took a buffing wheel to it, believe it or not, and I've gotten rid of all the rust. This is a 6-pounder. It's a British 6-pounder.
Hang on a second. Maybe mine is a
yours is a 6-pounder, I think, Chris. This is 6 pounds.
Yeah. This one's hit something. It's got a divot in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, mine came off of a colonial site, and most of the artifacts, in fact, we found a 64th Regiment of the Foot British button along with this cannonball.
Amazing. Have you found any French military?
I have not found any French.
That's the grail, isn't it?
It would be nice. It would be nice.
I like it when people find things that are French design from the American Civil War. So occasionally you'll find perhaps British guns were used. Well, obviously British guns were prevalent in the southern states, but the French would also support where possible in other bits. So sometimes you find French things dotted around.
Right. Yeah, we do. Connor's got a question for you. He says, "Hey, Chris, have you done metal detecting in Ireland to look for old sites? Have you ever been to Ireland and went metal detecting, Chris?"
I've been to Ireland, but I don't know. I don't actually know if you're allowed to metal detect in Ireland.
I don't think you are. I don't.
Okay,
I've read that I don't think metal detecting is allowed in Ireland.
Is that a trick question? In case I say yes.
I don't know. He might be. Hey, it might be that. It might be the Irish. The Irish lawsuits or whatever going
It's
on.
a late night.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're just chatting stuff.
Right.
You delete this video, right?
Yeah. Well, by the way, Ireland, he has not gone metal detecting over there. How about that?
Yeah, I haven't been metal detecting.
So don't tell him. He says, I have a 3-inch, 6-pound light artillery, dug an awesome spoon handle with an eagle on it at the same site.
Nice.
Right. Those are nice for sure.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting the way things work out. Real quick, so I took my Deus 2 to this site just recently, and then I'm going to play this video real quick. It's just a real quick snippet. It's actually from a video that I am going to be posting real soon. It was using my Deus 2. And Chris, I know you have put this up on your website. It's a program that Michael and I use. It's one that Michael and I sort of developed together. It was called the Sweeper program.
I'm aware of that one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Michael and I were on this very early, right after they did the update. And Michael and I started playing around with sensitive full tones. We were real intrigued with where XP was going with 1.0. And then once they launched 1.1, we realized that sensitive full tones was the only program on the Deus 2 that still had the 1.0 filters. So Michael and I wanted to see what the difference was between sensitive full tones and all the other programs. And that's when we discovered that this program is doing something different that we're not seeing with the other programs. And that was that it was giving a more accurate target ID. You know, I hear people constantly talking about the 789 thing over here in the United States. I don't know how often y'all see that running all the other programs. Even though it gives good audio, the ID is a 789 when mixed with iron. And so what Michael and I found out that running this program is actually giving us a more accurate ID as well as giving us the audio. And I know you use sensitive full tones. And so we're running sensitive full tones. So I want you to look at this artifact. I think you'll appreciate this artifact that you're going to see on the video. Yeah, we're going to run it.
We got 61 here. Sounds like there's some iron mixed in with it. Could be a shotgun shell, an older one. But we're gonna dig it, see what we get. It's a solid 61. Could be a piece of lead. We dug a lot of that. And we dug a lot of these little pieces of brass, and that's a piece of a brass colonial buckle. Check that out. Look at the design on that. Yeah, now that's a nice one. And I dug another piece similar to that, so maybe that's the matching piece to it. But there you go. Nice colonial shoe buckle fragment that we just popped out of the ground. Okay, GoPro stop recording. Hey guys, we got.
Okay, so that was a colonial shoe buckle fragment, and it was ringing up a 61. Chris, how often do y'all see like shoe buckles like that? I mean, I wish I could find a complete one. I've never found a complete shoe buckle from the 1700s. But I do find a lot of fragments, and this site that I'm on is the exact site where I dug that USA button, which dates to the 1700s as well. This property dates to the 1740s. So, and that's about as early as you're going to get in my area.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll find one soon. I mean, it sounds like there will be one there in that field, as I see it. I mean, when it comes to, well, I don't have anything next to me, but when it comes to shoe buckles, anything of that ilk, it obviously depends on how thick the metal is. So you can have stuff, just for context based here, you can have a medieval silver coin from 1400 ring up at like, I don't know, a 40 to a 50, for example, on the VDI. And that's because of the amount of silver content in it, So when we're talking about colonial shoe buckles, I mean, you can have stuff that looks visually very impressive, but might actually have an awful lot of like tin in it or pewter. That kind of thing.
There's a lot of pewter buttons.
Yeah, it's all about the composition at the end of the day. There's no hard, fast rule for anything, really.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I'm getting ready to release that video with the Deus 2, and that was running my sweeper program.
That's exciting. It's good.
Oh,
good
yeah.
find.
And let me tell you, Michael and I have tried all these programs. Now, before they released 1.10, we were using 0.71 filters, and it was fast, deep high conductor in general. We really had 3 programs that worked really, really well in our area. But since this last update, sensitive full tones to us has just taken over. I mean, it's almost like we can go into any site with sensitive full tones running that sweeper setup, and it works extremely well on those sites, running that sensitive full tones. We're running I don't know what you run your discrimination at, but we run it around 6.4 or 6.8. We run somewhere in between there. We run our offset at about 10. We run our max frequency at 40. We basically are setting it up to give us the most advantage to unmask in our situations, because these sites that I'm hunting, just like your Roman sites, are littered with iron. It's machine gun iron. It's iron everywhere. And there's iron for 400, 500, 600 yards in some cases, because there's so much activity on these sites. And sensitive full tones tends to work very, very well. We run our recovery speed anywhere from 2.5. We have run it at 4, but 2.5 to 3 usually works really good for our sites. And that's what you just saw. That was running it at 2.5. And you saw that buckle come out of that iron.
I've got a comment to make about the software versions, because I think that's a sticking point and a worry point for a lot of people. But don't tread on me. Metal Detecting in the comments has really nailed a key point here, in that they run 2 programs when they're in the field. So what they're doing, they use a deep program that just it'll pick out bits of iron that are circular and all the rest of it. But when they find something that's of interest, they'll switch it to SenseFT or a different program, and then they'll blip, and that's a very clever way to run things.
Right. And we do that too. I mean, you can take fast, or you can take general, and you can flip over to one of those other programs to check and see how that target is responding, to maybe sort of verify some of that. And Michael will agree with me, and I know you're probably going to agree with me too on this. The Deus 2 has the best audio of any metal detector out there. There are more tonal nuances in the Deus 2 than there are any other machine that I think is on the market, versus the MindLab Manicore, versus all these other machines that are out there. You're just not going to get the tonal nuances that you're going to get with the Deus 2, whether you use high square, whether you use square, whether you use PWM. And I started with the Deus 1 as far as, XP machines, and I was very used to fast and pitch. And so going to this has totally opened my eyes to a lot of things, but I'm still able to sort of get a lot of that same tone type of situation running PWM. And I think Michael sees that too. But I really like high square, and I really like square tones as well.
Yeah, I like high square too. I touched on it earlier on with any metal detector, okay, but talking strictly DS2, but with any metal detector, you can force it to do things in terms of the settings used to allow you to go perhaps a little bit deeper. So earlier on, I showed you the 13-inch coil. Great coil, pretty well balanced in my opinion still.
Right.
What you could do is you can not create a program, but you could modify maybe your favorite program to run much deeper using high square tones.
Right.
And what that does is that when you're going over something that's very like deep, okay, maybe quite small as well, or a mixture of both, you'll find that your detector, because rather than give you like a little squeak somewhere on the PWM full tones range, which is if you ever hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you force the detector to giving you a high square tone, it really punches that signal out. It's like boom, that sort of thing.
Right.
And that is smart thinking. Anyone who does that sort of thing.
Right. And there are a lot of the viewers on here are Deus 2 users, but there are a lot of other people that use different machines.
Yeah, it works with any machine.
Golden Treasure says, I feel like the Deus 2 locks on the TDI and VDI number better than any other top machine. I own them all. If I want solid, easy to know sound and solid TDI numbers, I grab my Deus 2. And I think that's why the majority of us use the Deus 2. Is because of the tones and because it does have a solid VDI or TDI number that we get when we get over a target, and we know what that target is going to be for the most part, just simply because the VDI is really accurate. And, I get a lot of people who are saying, well, I don't get that VDI, but they're not getting that VDI because they're not running the right program. Sensitive Full Tones is the best program for the proper VDI. And I've tested it. I've shown it. Michael's seen me show it. I've shown it in shows. I've shown it, to everyone. If XP, whatever they're coming up with, which I know they're coming up with something, but if they figure out how to match that VDI like they did with Sensitive Full Tones on all the other programs, then it's game over for a lot of the other premium machines in my case.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, despite running the Deus 2 group, I have to be aware of other detectors out there. When you have high iron contaminated soil, I'm talking red soil in some states, like Minelab, it theoretically is going to nail that soil without an issue. It is handy that Deus 2 does have in its general program a sort of a soil substitution setting built into it. So it's all well and good everyone saying Sense EFT, and I love it and it works for me, but like say the general program, if you've got like a high mineralized soil, you may find that something that works with that it considered will match any other detectors offering, and I think that's something worth considering. And I think from what I've read so far of your viewers, that's the way it rolls here too. You find the program that works for you, you find the software version that works for you. All right, I'm not an advocate of running the latest software all the time. You find what works for you.
What did you think of the 1.0 update when it came out? I know we waited on that update for a pretty good while, and we had several people saying it kind of falls on iron, but I think Elaine, the owner, he had something in mind with that, and I think he's going to eventually go back to that. Those filters.
And I agree. I agree with Michael, Chris. I think that XP was on to something when they released 1.0. Now, a lot of people complained that it was falsing, and it just, they wanted those older filters. The machine ran better with the older filters. But I think that XP was definitely on to something, and I think they were on to something really, really good, because it's amazing to me that with 1.10, that the one program that works the best for us is sensitive full tones with the 1.0 filters.
It's a carryover from 1.0. So with the 1.0 when it came out, yeah, there was a lot of concern from some people,
Right.
but people who had picked, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, but a lot of people who had picked up a machine at the day one release, 0.3, 0.6, those kind of levels.
I had one from the early on.
Yeah, no surprise there. You get all the goodies first. But you know, if you have a version that's like that, 0.6, Alan and Philippe and the architects, if you like, they were not trying to go back to that really hot program or hot release. You know, it was.
Right.
It used to be very powerful, okay, but with it as well, falsing is akin to high sensitivity as well, depending on how you look at it. You know. And so the 1.0, they wanted to go back to, you know, full raw power, whereas a lot of people, certainly myself, feel that 0.71 software version is a good software version that kind of is good at discrimination. It's good at analyzing the target better. The reactivity is all right, you know, whereas you've got the screaming 1.0. And then you've got 1.1, which has a bit of a mix of both worlds. And that's where we're at today. I'm fully expecting that come winter, we'll have something else, but I've got nothing official on that.
Right.
So,
Chris, one thing too, and we're getting ready to get off because I know it's late for you and I know you're probably ready to go to bed, especially.
I'm good.
But one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of days is that we've seen an update to the Go Terrain app. Will you talk a little bit about the Go Terrain app and what you've seen and what people can expect if they got the Go Terrain app with this latest update? So I'm gonna let you sort of lead that and tell the audience what's going on with Go Terrain.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. I've been itching to say more about Go Terrain.
Yes,
because you know, Go Terrain is something that has been in development for a very long time. Everyone who knows XP detectors knows this, and I think it's been a phenomenal success, especially when we're looking at groups of people. All right, so I'll talk about versions in a minute. But when my key thing with Go Terrain is that if I'm going out detecting and I'm in a field and I'm on my own, I'm not going to run any recording software or any kind of things that pick up where I've been or dig in targets. I'll know where I've been because I can see in the grass.
Sure.
But if I'm in a group environment and I'm trying to let, you know, a bit of camaraderie, a bit of talking to each other, a bit of running over and seeing what someone's got, the Go Terrain app configured the right way, if somebody in your team, in your group, finds something, you'll get a little notification in your rucksack or wherever your phone is, and you can then turn around and go, and someone's waving in the distance, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just it brings a new level of detecting that's different. It's even different to if you've got a radio on you, which so many people have, but not everyone does, you know. It's got loads of high points to it. I think software version, it's been the same for a little while now. I'm allowed to say that we can expect at some point, you know, this year, we're going to expect to see a significant new release, which should be more accurate. It should be faster in processing.
Sure.
So when I'm talking accuracy, I'm talking fine spot accuracy, that kind of thing. It's already pretty sharp, in my opinion, but it's even better.
It's very sharp. There's no question about that.
And although I can't go into the features of the beta program, obviously, you know, we're fully expecting the release, whenever it comes, will have a big impact on people who have never used Go Terrain before. I mean, at the moment on my group right now, today, the last few hours, I'm giving away codes to people who want to try out Go Terrain, no problem at all. You know, we can sort that out. Go Terrain is going to be a really interesting point because for me, again, I don't use it as a single out in the field person, but in groups, I love it. I love that interaction. I love seeing where everyone's been on my phone screen.
It's a
all
great app, and of course you heard me talk about how I've helped develop a museum for one of the landowners, and I used the Go Terrain app to sort of mark where I found those finds for the owner, and that was just super to be able to do. And I know that some of us, and you know this too, some of us just don't want to go through that hassle of having to pull out our phone and do those kinds of things. But in those types of situations, that app becomes very, very useful. And especially if you're going to go back to a site, where you found those particular targets.
Exactly.
You're going to know the exact location. So that's where the Go Terrain app really shines in that type of situations. And that's where I think it is beneficial for anybody that's metal detecting. Hey, you can go out and hey, I found this over here. Maybe I need to search this area a little bit more closer and look for other things too, simply because I found this particular item. And of course, you can add a picture to it. You can write down what it is. You can do all those things with it, which are super, super nice. Just a super feature to have. And I know XP takes a lot of pride in that Go Terrain app. And again, I'm all for it. I think it's great. I think it is one that people can benefit from as well. So, Chris, I appreciate you sharing that information about the Go Terrain app, and we'll see. So there's been a couple of questions. Of course, Trevor Van Horn brought up a great thing. He says between our channel, Mental Metal, Treasure Outdoors, and Metal Detecting NYC in Calabash, I've learned so much in a short amount of time. He says he's going to have to get a second job, Chris, to get all these new machines and what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
UCM Detect says, hey, I love the Go Terrain app. I log the great finds on mine, and it gives me a good history. And that's exactly right. He's exactly right. Mental Metal says, hey, good app. Looking forward to the update. Don't Tread on Me says, can the Go Terrain app be paired with a Garmin GPS app? I think it's mainly for the phone, but I'm not real sure. Chris, do you know that answer to that?
I'd like to say that I do know the answer to that, but I think if you go onto the Go Terrain Facebook group, bang that message in there. I'm a moderator on that group as well. We'll get eyes on that one. I don't want to say no, because that's the thing about updates. Things change. So let's have a conversation about that.
Right. Ben Boggs says XP needs to put a hot button on the Deus 2 to the Go Terrain app, which
got it.
Yeah, you can go to the Go Terrain app off of your remote with no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have the main remote control, it probably works with the WS6 as well. But if you have the main RC, as it's known, if you press probably the top button, I can't remember. If you've got Go Terrain in what we call push mode, or the synergy between the main RC and Go Terrain, you don't even have to sit there on your phone going, oh, I found this, here's a photo of it, and so on. If you're going over a good target, even if you found that target and you've recovered it already, you can just go over it with your detector, press this button, it will just log it as a pin, and then you can then look at that later on your phone. You can zoom out and see where you found it, those find spots. Already works. It's that. It's one of its key features.
That's great, Chris. I appreciate you sharing that, because again, I've used it occasionally. I don't use it all the time. I probably do need to be using it more, to be honest with you. But I have used it in those situations. So again, ECM Detect says, I use the push function, press the middle top button to push the target to your phone. There you go. So
thanks. Good.
Maybe we need DCM Detects on here, Michael. He's from he's a South Carolina boy too. He's from my neck of the woods. So we might have to do that. We might have to bring DCM on there. We've got a couple people joining in. Real quick though, because I don't want to keep Chris. It's late, guys, over there in the UK. Chris is at what 1:30?
Well, it doesn't matter. I've got a 5-week-old baby, so like.
So
like,
you're
live with
gonna
my
wake
partner
up
upstairs,
anyway,
so-
right, Chris?
Yeah, time. It doesn't matter.
Well, I don't want to keep you too terribly long. One thing that
You're
we
right.
always do, Chris, is we always share the finds of our subscribers. These finds are sponsored by our main sponsor, who's a dealer here in the United States. This is Joel from Metal Detecting Buy, Sell, and Trade USA.
Nice.
He can get people set up with any metal detecting accessory, metal detectors, and so on. And we so appreciate Joel for being a major sponsor of our channel. So what we like to do is we like to share our finds of our subscribers, and we're going to run through those. And we're going to start off with me. How about that?
Nice.
I'm going to be number one this time. But anyway, a couple of nice buttons. This came off of the same site where I've dug my USA button. Notice the nice big round musket balls. Those are, I believe, 69 cal. And I believe that those are Brown Bess.
Yep.
Could possibly be. And of course, you guys saw me just show that buckle fragment that I dug with the Deus 2, along with all of these other buttons. Some nice pottery shards that I dug here, and of course a nice little buckle there as well. The big coin underneath the buckle is actually a praying hands token. It's not that old; it's made of aluminum, and but it was a nice find, and it rang up really loud. It was banging my ears off, and I was hoping it was going to be something really, really old, but it didn't turn out to be something really old. It's got the Lord's Prayer on the other side, so. Those were some of my finds from this past week. So let's move on to the next. And Chris, you might like this find. This is from Mr. Larry Stevens. And check out this real. Now, he didn't say, I think this is a 1 real, but it is an 1807 1 real.
Wow, that's very good. I love it.
Yeah, great shape.
And again, Chris, we're not going to dig Roman coins, but to us, this really makes people excited.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm all over that. That's great. I'm studying the coin that says his span on it. On the right hand side imagery. That was very nice.
Yes, it's very, very good. And this was the front and the back, so I put both up so everyone could see it. But that is
good milled silver. Good milled silver. That one.
Oh, yeah. Awesome find by Mr. Larry Stevens. Thank you,
Dig
and Daryl. We appreciate you, buddy, for the donation. Remember, all donations go back to our channel. It helps with paying for the live stream, but it also helps with doing all the other things that we do, cameras, all the other things. So we appreciate that as well. Let's move on to our next find. And this was done by Mr. David Frazier. I don't know that I saw David on here tonight, but he dug a nice, looks like a gold chain with a broken heart.
Yeah.
So he dug that, and he wanted to share that with us. And that is a beautiful gold
chain. Look at that chain. Look at that.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
Very, very, very nice. Congratulations, Mr. David Frazier. And hopefully David will tune in and he'll catch the replay with that. And then we get and this is Jeff Perot, but he goes by Mr. LC Hunt. And he's got a mouth heart. He's got some buttons and miscellaneous items. He was using his Deus 2 with the 9-inch coil. And just like what we said, he was using sensitive full tones for his finds. And again, a lot of great artifacts there. And
look at the buckle fragment. Look at that on the left-hand side, 18th century, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. And these guys are killing it with the Deus 2. And Mr. LC Hunt dug these beautiful finds. And congratulations to everyone. That's right. Dirt Devil Detecting says it's a Jew's harp, and that's exactly what they refer to it as here in the U.S. And Edward G says, nice chain and nice finds to you as well, Mr. LC. So again, great finds. I appreciate everyone submitting those. If anyone would like to submit their finds for next week's live stream, you can always submit those finds to sransc@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to share your finds on the live stream. So again, guys, we're gonna check out of here. And I know, and I appreciate Chris being in here with us tonight. We're going to hopefully have some more stuff coming to you guys real soon. Chris, again, I can't thank you enough for taking your time and being out here late with us tonight.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. And it gives us an insight to things that, we don't normally see and normally don't talk about. So, again, it really helps us out. And we appreciate you being in here with us tonight. Also, too, one thing I wanted to mention, Dirt Devil Detective's on here. And, Chris, I don't know if you've seen these before or not, but Dirt Devil Detective makes a remote lock. And we're going to be giving one of those away on next week's live stream. But this is a remote lock that you can put on your Deus 2 shaft, and it can get you locked into where your remote will not come off of your detector. Chris, do you use anything like that, or do you use maybe a case to hold it in? What do you use? I'm curious.
I'm fortunate enough that mine hasn't come off as yet. There is a lanyard just in case it does come off, if it has to. I just got lucky. I do appreciate if you're going through undergrowth and so on that there is that danger. So I think anyone who is creating solutions, there is no bad concept,
Right.
Not for me, but I'm OEM, put it that way.
Okay, all right. Well, go check out Dirt Devil Detecting. If you are interested in one of those locks, those remote locks, all you got to do is Dirt Devil Detecting @gmail.com, and he can get you hooked up with one of those. We're going to be giving one of those away on next week's live stream. So before we get off, a few other things too. Support Joel at Metal Detecting Buy, Sell, and Trade USA, and get you hooked up with any machine, any accessory, anything you need to get going with your metal detecting adventure. And he can get you hooked up. His information is scrolling across the bottom. I appreciate Chris being in here with us tonight. Don't forget, we got a special live stream next Thursday with Philippe from XP. We're going to have one of the XP guys on here to talk about metal detecting, talk about metal detectors. It's going to be great. Chris knows Philippe as well. And I can't wait to bring him on, and maybe we can get a little bit of information out of him for some of the future things that are coming from XP. That's coming up. And then also the following week, we're going to have Mr. Steve Moore from Garrett Metal Detectors talking about the Vortex. And you guys can ask some of those questions too about the Vortex machine and those types of things. So again, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you being with us tonight. And thank you guys so much for being in here. Thank you, Chris, from the XP Deus 2 group on Facebook. Chris, we appreciate you, buddy. And guys, go check out his group. If you've got a Facebook account, go check out the group. You're going to love some of the things that you're seeing. If you're an XP Deus 2 user, a lot of great things on there. Even if you're not an XP Deus.
If you're not, it doesn't matter.
Check
come
it out.
along and just have a look.
There's a lot of good information, a lot of good finds on there.
Yes,
finds aplenty.
There definitely is, and we appreciate Chris taking his time and being up with us really late on a Friday night to do this live stream. Again, guys, thank y'all so much. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being a loyal subscriber, member, and follower. We always appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in and taking your time to be with us tonight. And we'll catch you guys real soon. Guys, anything else y'all want to tell everyone before we sign off?
Have a good night, everyone.
We appreciate you. Chris, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Other than thank you, everyone, for inviting me onto your show. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime, eh?
Yes, we will.
yeah.
We definitely will. And Chris, we appreciate you so much. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a
Thank you,
great,
boys.
wonderful evening, and we will catch you guys on our next adventure. Stay tuned. We got some great content coming in the near future. You guys are going to love it. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see you soon. Have a great and fantastic weekend. Go out there and find something great. We appreciate you guys. Take care.